I became a furry, and no, I did not intend for this to happen. It all started on Twitch when I was working on the next design for a current OC challenge I'm doing. Though things soon took a turn when the topic of furries came up. I know a decent amount for someone on the peripherals. Animals are great, I get it. It's just not for me, you know? I'm more of an animal ears and tail enjoyer, and that's where I draw the line. I shared the same sentiment on that very day, though of course, I can always appreciate a good hypothetical. And so that's what I did. If I was to ever make a fursona, it'd be more one of those tech-based ones. What were they called again? Yes, a Protogen. I remembered seeing them float around, and I always thought that the sleek and glowy face they had was very cool. But again, it's not like I'd follow through, right? It'd be a low priority for sure, and I'm so busy with, you know, stuff. Maybe if I was gifted, 40 gifted subs or something on Twitch. Yeah, that's precisely what happened. Reached by just one individual by the very impressive username of MemeOverlord896. I was to drop everything I was doing to make this a reality. Now, you may be curious about the design I did, and there is indeed a probability that you're already well acquainted with the topic I'm about to cover today. So let's just get one thing straight. This is as much of a Sona design showcase as it is a dive into the appeal of the furry community and the more niche culture of custom species. And yes, as you know, I'm speaking as someone who is completely new to it and frankly just the slightest bit intimidated, at least initially when I first started this project. But hey, that is precisely why I had to make this video. It's simply the time to learn and absorb it all, or at least the parts that were going to help me out in making my own Protogen. If you have questions right now, do not worry, we're going to talk about it. For now, I'd just like to humbly request that you subscribe, especially if you're an art enjoyer who appreciates original character design, art events, and of course, showing support for any creators such as myself in producing original content that you can enjoy here for free. Let's get into it. Alright, the most basic thing we need to talk about first are furries. It's a broad umbrella term for anyone with an interest in animal characters with human characteristics like talking or walking on two legs. We know this. I know this. What's more interesting here is figuring out the appeal and what really makes it distinct as a fandom. This being a subculture of passionate fans who share a love of something specific. In short, people get into it for a lot of reasons, though the broad stroke common factor is the fact that it's for those who appreciate self-made reflection of their identity, the connections one can make in a niche space, and the creative outlet that it provides. I think I speak for most artists in understanding of the significance in having a persona that you can connect with. And of course, the understanding that there's a lot of ways that people can go about making one. Some may have lore, and others simply work to reflect their actual selves as closely as possible. Either way, it's an expression of the self, and furries as a fandom simply have honed in on this aspect. Outside of that, I can say it's also for those who are big animal appreciators as well. And I mean, hey, I get it. Who doesn't have a favorite animal? Drop yours in the comments below. If there's one thing an individual who cares for Sonas wants to achieve, it's creating or having something unique, something that speaks to them on a personal level. In addition to that, it can also be a means of communicating to a specific group of people who have a shared interest, and for them to recognize the significance of your design. I actually talked a bit about this topic in this video here if you'd like to check it out, but let's carry on for now. As is the case in any space, there's going to be big fans out there who go above and beyond to show their dedication to whatever brings them the most joy. One such method might be the participation and involvement with open and closed species. To define it, an open species is one that anyone can make a character from with little to no restrictions. And not just that, but it's also completely free. On the other hand, closed species are ones that have more strict rules and often involve paying to make your own, MYO for short, or to buy a pre-made design from its creators. When I first heard this, it raised little alarm bells in my head and had me wondering, will I ever understand? What's even the point? But as I mentioned before, it's a pretty broad space, and in any fandom, there's going to be casuals all the way to those with a huge dedication to the space, or a smaller subsection of it. So for a furry or even a general creature enjoyer who might want to have a tighter knit feel, one route they can go is by getting involved in these smaller communities that revolve themselves around unique species. And this can especially be the case for those who have an interest in ones that are more exclusive due to their more difficult to get into nature, right? Why does any of this matter? Well, it's mainly because I was curious, but I did actually encounter this myself when I decided to make a Protogen. My first assumption was that I just gather references and do whatever, right? But no, the whole experience goes a lot deeper than that. At least when you're first getting the context of how it even works. Even now, I still want to do a deeper dive into this world, though I think we're going to have to put a goal here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if we get it to 40k likes, I'll do a part 2. Protogens are a cyborg open species that anyone's allowed to make a design for, though it does have some guidelines. This is all for the purpose, though, of making it identifiable just like any other animal in real life. Some of the more defining characteristics include a visor face display, mechanical parts, and a mix of artificial and biological limbs. Now, these aliens aren't just appearance alone, and in fact, I'd say the most shockingly cool thing I learned was just how extensive their lore was. See, while protogens are an open species, a key aspect to their background is how they're basically replaceable life forms that do the bidding of a closed species called primogens. Again, this was my first encounter with this sort of thing, and at this point you could say I was just a bit spooked. But I was determined to understand. It's a hit or miss with some, but look, there's no denying that world building gets the imagination going and sparks a lot of curiosity, especially if you're on the quest to fit yourself or a character within it. It's part of what makes something like D&D so enjoyable for many. It's that sense of immersion and the fact that you're doing it with others. In my case, my investigation came later in the design process, as objective number 1 was to simply get started, though you're going to learn about it in a nice condensed way for this video. In the description, I've linked a video that goes even more in depth regarding the story as well as the actual official document if you'd like to review it yourself. For now, go ahead and enjoy my very tightly condensed version. Let's get started. It all starts in the universe of Zor, also known as Zenith's Outer Reach. In it exists a highly advanced alien race known as the Primogenators, or Creators. Their mission was to create a cybernetic fusion life form, a disposable pawn that would have the perks of judgment and increased survivability that biological beings possessed. That's when the Protogens were made, a species that fused mammalian DNA with cybernetic enhancements that vary depending on their environment and assigned purpose. They have emotions and thoughts just like anyone, though unlucky for them, they're subject to complete mind control and general compliance to the demands of their creators. The main conflict came from the Primogens and their need for total control, versus their interest in developing the Protogens further in features and abilities that maximize their usefulness. Of course, creators gotta create, and they ultimately pushed forward. While new feats were reached and an elite class of Protogens did in fact came to be, it ultimately resulted in overloading the control systems that kept this species in its place. No longer just a useful tool, These, now called rares, were seen as a danger due to their uncontrollable or rogue natures. The Protogen rebellion was here. Primogens fell into two groups at this point. One who wished for a peaceful coexistence, this being the Scientica, and another that wished to reconfigure or destroy the defective Protogen, them being called the Nexim. Conflict continues to this very day in the universe of Zor, though despite the tensions, there does exist a small society of Protogens on a terraformed moon that has now become the capital homeworld of the Protogen. They trade peacefully with the Scientica, though Nexim still looms with their majority control of Protogen production facilities, as well as their continued improvements of Project Arc, the very program that keeps Protogens in line. So let's go over the official references now, the different variants that exist, and the first things I was thinking when I actually began designing my own. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, one of the most distinct features of the Protogen are their visors. They're made entirely out of millions of particles called nanites, which are these movable pieces that allow the visor to open and close, as well as functioning as a protective shield to the outside world. Why would it need to open? Well, a big fact about Protogens is that they're 60% organic and the remaining 40% being artificial. So with that comes the actual need to digest food. This is in comparison to the previously mentioned closed species of Primogens, which are 70% artificial. Some other interesting things about the visor is that it allows for enhanced vision and other unique optical abilities, such as being able to see display overlays, thermals, and more. The other big thing about the Protogen is their plug-and-play limb system, which allows limbs to be attached to the socket area with special magnetic nanites. These particles also serving the function of transmitting neural data to the brain. Just a little bit of info dump hours there, but this is going to be a key appeal in my eyes for why I even wanted to design one of these in the first place. Think about it. I have this heckin' cool mask over here that has the glowies, and not just that, but my actual Sona originates from a sci-fi city known as Nexus. Even right now, the lore has me placed right in the middle of a simulation called the Mindscape. You can read more about that on my website, but basically what I'm trying to get at here is that this is my bread and butter. This is so cool. This is so me. I love it. And, I was actually more enthused about this project than I let on. Haha. Excuse me. Pardon my excitement. When it came to actually working on the ref sheet here, there is one thing I wanted to do, and that's making sure I was free from having to make a perfectly symmetrical design, and instead try out a unique slightly rotated pose for this reference. Still, I wanted to keep things nice and simple, so the plan would be to use the same silhouette for the back view too, just with a few modifications in order to make sure the perspective worked still. Once I had the general pose complete, I could finally get to work on adapting my current humanoid form to this new Protogen alt. I knew for sure that I wanted the ears to be split similarly to mine. I still like the rendered design you see in this reference, though the second outfit here actually depicts the transformed variation. Think magical girl vibes, except in my case, it'd be magical envy. Yes, did you know I'm non-binary and use they/them pronouns? The more you know. One silly thing I was worried about when I approached this design was whether or not Protogens were clothes. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? Just be free and all that. But again, it was my first go with working around a few limitations, and I was doing my best to be as faithful to the species concept as I could, doing it justice and all that. Of course, I just took a little extra reading for the reassurances I needed in order to lock in on adding this coat to my design. Aside from that, it'd just be a bow and nothing else. I originally thought to use the long coat variant in my transformed outfit, though I thought it covered too much of the leg part. Something I'd say that was pretty important to the species silhouette. People must see the robo-legs, it's important. I had this whole journey too, with figuring out how I wanted to do the hands. First, I looked through various people's interpretations of the Protogen design, and it was only later that I actually found the most up-to-date guide that I've been referring to throughout this whole video. Before that, I was using this reference, and and to me it looked like I should try out claws. The thing is though, I thought it'd just be too delightful to pass up on little glowy toe beans, and it was another thing I briefly fretted over before confirming that no, there is indeed a lot of flexibility with Protogens, as you can see with this reference here. Beyond that, however, I was still working on how to adapt the hand warmers my Sona wears to this design, and ultimately I decided that there'd be a pink tuft of fur just on the outer part of the hand, the inner sticking with the dark colored fur instead. The final notable thing I wanted to talk about with the design process was for the tail. This was honestly the perfect opportunity to try out that plug-and-play concept, as limbs and even tails were swappable. Because of this, the plan was to showcase 2 different tail types, each being featured in my 2 Sona refs here. As much as I love the fire tail, I cannot turn away from the OG simple black one, as it's been around on my Sona since it was first originally made back in 2023. We're going to switch things up now and talk more about my experience with furries. Did you know that my first fandom was Warriors? Basically, a drama-filled book series around cats and clans. Now, these don't qualify as furries, but it's an undeniable fact that my first OCs were literal animals. I moved on to some other fandoms, though it was years later when I actually considered giving furry art a go. So why the change? Well, it was around the time I first watched Zootopia, a movie that came out in 2016. I love this movie so much that it had me thinking, why not? Why not? Just go for it, right? So I did. Though after I did a few drawings, it just didn't sit right with me for whatever reason. It was fun, though from then on I told myself animal ears and tails were enough. Unlucky for you, I'm not going to be showing you this art, but I will be posting it for members on my website to see, if you're so inclined to check it out. Despite this casual turndown, I always remained very chill and respectful for those who were in this furry community. Though the wild thing was, over the years, just seeing the hate and presumptions around this group, and while I know there's always going to be another side out there, it's unfair to paint a negative view on such a massive scene, and one that I know has been incredibly fulfilling and accepting for many. Open to all, you know? That's really wholesome. The same thing goes for a discussion around open and closed species too. From what I found, it can indeed be quite controversial, or at the very least concerning to those who are outside this activity. One of the big ones is how you can't own a combination of design elements, and that there may be too much policing over what people can and can't do with their art. Many bring up the idea of fan art in these instances, and how people should be free to take inspiration and go in whatever direction they'd like. Another one is the concern over the cash grab nature for those who make closed species, and how that generally rubs the people the wrong way. In the end though, I've concluded that it's simply one expression of an interest, and that there can be many perks for those who decide to participate within the culture and ecosystem of it all. Creators of species, and namely closed species, are able to earn based off a hobby they're passionate for, and those in the space can have that sense of satisfaction of supporting spaces they enjoy. And of course, open species, which are way more accessible and still equally fun to participate within. Either way, when people work to maintain a set of guidelines, it's something that can be inspiring in its own way. And the effort that goes into it as both a participant and creator ultimately serves as its own sense of reward due to the investment the interest takes. I am positive that there's some bad stories out there and ways that it's been mishandled, though ultimately, it's a joy for those who decide to get into it, and that's a personal decision to make anyhow. If it's not for you, you can go on and simply ignore it. Or alternatively, if it does make you curious, it's an easy step to just try out open species and to see what cool things people are doing with them. Anyway, this again was something I did want to do. I just didn't ever feel like it was the right time, given everything else I wanted to work on. Though getting support to actually pursue a fun project like this was very much appreciated. With it, I had the push to not only just make a fursona, but also to investigate some community spaces and activities that used to intimidate me as an outsider. As I looked into it, I had this budding appreciation, and while I know there's a variety of personal experiences out there, On pen and paper, I simply adore the concept of people coming together around a world or a creature and having a good time in developing their characters, working on projects, or really just getting excited when you spot someone with a similar interest in design out there in the wild. If you're curious about my Protogen's lore, I decided that they'd be outside the Zora universe, and instead, it'd be an alternate form that my Sona could take in the simulation they reside in. It's a simple solution, though I like it this way. As for what's next, in the description I've included a list of species that you might want to check out if you're curious about investigating this world yourself and perhaps finding something that you might enjoy getting involved with. Of course, in the comments, I'd be absolutely ecstatic if you shared whether you tried this out yourself, perhaps a different species entirely, and also your personal experience with, furries, fursonas, species, anything of the sort. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. If you want to support fun side quests like these, you can do so by becoming a member, checking out my streams, or engaging with my videos in any way you choose. I'll see y'all next time.